everyone. It is Tuesday evening, November 2nd. I wanted to get this done in 5 minutes. The 23-minute weather podcast I just gave, I'm just going to do a summary and try to get everything in within 5 minutes. Let's start. A Canadian cold front has moved across the United States and is stalled somewhere just south of Dallas. This cold front goes all the way from the Texas area all the way to the northeast. Temperatures ahead of the front are quite warm. Temperatures are in the 80s when you head off to Houston, Texas, and into South Texas, but temperatures behind the front are only in the 50s, and most locations, only in the 40s. A strong storm system will be developing at the edge of this front over in the Texas area. That's where the contrast of temperatures is most intense. Copious amounts of Gulf moisture is also going to be put into the system. The system is going to slowly move through the Gulf Coast, producing a long-duration heavy rain event with 3 or more inches of rain over many locations. On the back side of the system, some snowflakes may get mixed in, especially over the Oklahoma Panhandle, possibly also the Texas Panhandle as well. No snowfall accumulation is expected at this time. The low-pressure system that was over in Nebraska that brought 5.8 inches of snow to North Platte, Nebraska, and also several inches of snow to other locations west of Lincoln, Nebraska, and parts of Wyoming, has moved off to the east and has been mainly a rain producer, but some areas in the Appalachian Mountains have seen snow. This has not been a significant system. However, there are winds that are coming off of Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes in general that are expected to bring probably between 4 and 7 inches of snow for places close to Buffalo and Syracuse, New York, or Syracuse, and also places in Michigan as well. The nor'easter that was affecting the United States last week, the powerful nor'easter, the first one, has moved off into the Atlantic, and unbelievably, it became a named storm, a subtropical storm, and today it became a named tropical storm. This is really quite unbelievable, really remarkable for a system to originally get its energy from contrast and temperatures and then to transition over to a storm system that gets all of its energy from the water. And there's no longer a contrast in any temperatures. This is more common when you have hurricanes that turn into nor'easters. They weaken when they hit land, and then they run into a cold front, and they reignite, and they turn into a nor'easter. But this is quite unique for this to happen. The North Pacific storms, those storms by the Bering Sea and the Gulf of Alaska, those are very intense low-pressure systems, which for whatever reason, don't seem to have any names to them. But one would think that perhaps they should have names if the ones in the Atlantic have names. But speaking of those systems, we have a powerful storm system over there right now, over in the Gulf of Alaska, which is producing very heavy snow and heavy rain over in the Anchorage, Alaska area and places around there. Forecasts call for more than 10 feet of snow expected in the mountain areas over just a couple-day period. With some forecasts, it says the National Weather Service up to 28 feet. Just unbelievable. Also, more than 10 inches of rain is expected over in that area. There actually was a record broken over there for 8 inches of rain for 2 days, 2 consecutive days, and that's the farthest north we've ever had a city have 8 inches of rain for 2 consecutive days. I believe that happened in Anchorage, Alaska. There certainly are parts of that storm which are unprecedented, and that's one of them. A parade of storms will continue to move onto the Northwest Pacific, which is good news for them because they have these drought conditions, and it is those intense storms in the North Pacific that are responsible for a lot of spin, pushing these spins of low-pressure impulses onto the Northwest Pacific, and many of them become quite an intense storm. The system in Alaska actually has an atmospheric river, which is why there is so much precipitation falling out of that system. Those systems don't always get an atmospheric river, but this one does. This Canadian cold front has an air mass which really originated possibly as far north as the Arctic, but it is a shallow, cold air mass, and temperatures are a little bit more moderate than one would expect this time of the year when you're getting a cold front from the Arctic. The one exception is those places which saw the snowfall, where high temperatures are only going to be in the 30s. Nonetheless, it looks like the growing season will be coming to an end over many places this week. One example is St. Louis, Missouri, which will be under freeze warnings for at least 1 or 2 nights. And Chicago also, I believe, is under a freeze warning for tonight. This is a two-punch cold air. The second front is colder than the first. The timing of it is somewhere between Monday and Wednesday. The cold air from front number 1, which moved through on Sunday, comes in on Monday. And I believe that the cold air comes in on Wednesday. Many cities, though, will not get the second cold air until Thursday. That's when it will be reaching its peak for many other cities. A possible storm system might develop over the weekend. If it does, there will be colder air that comes in behind the front. But following that, indications are that we're going to have an above normal weather pattern, possibly in the 60s in St. Louis already by midweek next week. But that is a far way off. Thank you for listening. I wish everybody a wonderful night.